Now, cranberry growers are beginning to harvest this year's crop.
As Wisconsin continues to lead the country in production, WMTV's Phoebe Murray brings us into the bogs of the billion-dollar industry.
Wading through knee-high waters.
These are called Hanes, like the underwear.
The bogs are brimming with shades of red.
Ready to go?
It's the first harvest of the year for farmer Kelly Rudd.
You got to get the berries off.
For close to 3 decades, he's been planting, growing, and harvesting different varieties of the native fruit.
The misconception is that cranberries have water on them. Everyone that has seen the Ocean Spray commercials with the guy standing in the bibs.
But at AAA Cranberry in Toma,
they're dry year-round except for this time of year.
a place where cranberries are king.
Should have a good crop. This is the first crop on these because they're just babies.
Rudd is experimenting with a hybrid berry
It would take 3 or 4 years to get any good production.
to save him time after hand planting the perennials.
A lot of agronomy in that. That's why the hybrids were developed. One of the things I was after is early harvest and increased color.
He says shoppers are looking for less sugar.
They're after what the consumer wants, and that's elimination of sugar, added sugar. Like the buyer's always right.
The latest USDA crop production report is forecasting a 5.3 million barrel harvest for 2025. And if those projections hold, Wisconsin will retain its title as not only the largest cranberry producer in the states, but the world.
Last year we had just over 6 million barrels, which was like knock it out of the park exceptional.
Grant Holly is the executive director of the Wisconsin State Cranberry Growers Association. He says 67% of the world cranberry crop can be traced to the state's growers.
It's about a $1.5 billion enterprise for Wisconsin. Knock on wood, we see very bright future ahead.
Across 25,000 acres of Wisconsin marshes, these roots reach deep.
Families who are 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th generation farmers.
Around the clock work
Next year's bud is out there already.
for a fruit that packs a punch.
Anything you're getting from a cranberry is just the way it grew.
In Toma,
Myself, I like
Phoebe Murray,
tart stuff.
WMTV 15 News.
Phoebe, thank you. If you want to check out a cranberry marsh for yourself, many of them offer tours during harvest season, which runs now through October.